We are not in debt. It is a false debt. The whole thing is deceit and trickery, and we need to call them on it. That's what needs to happen, and that's what I love about Robert Menard, because he starts calling people on this stuff, and you go in and you find your own sort of personal power, and you go at this with this attitude. You'd be surprised what doors open up. Just like the woman said, she went into court, she said, I do not consent, and I waive all the benefits. They like that part, you know. Anything that you had to give me under some kind of rule or law, I don't want it. I kind of like that approach myself. It's kind of like Ayn Rand, you know, I don't owe you anything, you don't owe me anything. And that's what I was talking about Winston Trout. And he's like, you know, this isn't a bad system, really. It's just that they never, you know, about the prepaid account. You know, it's just that they never told you about it, so you're working doubly hard. You could actually be living a pretty decent life under this system. Well, I think this is just jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire. That's my own personal way of looking at this. I don't want them to pay for my personal expenses. I don't want to go under their system, okay? Because their system is based on destruction, okay? Their system is hell-bent on building war machines. And, you know, if you've ever read Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson, you know, he just tears down the whole fallacy of the broken window theory, where, you know, destruction is stimulating to the economy, and they always give the example. Well, you know, if somebody comes and breaks a window, well, now if somebody has to order a new window, and then the guy with the window company, he makes money, and on and on. He just totally breaks that apart, and you know, that's basically the way at least the United States, that's the way it's been operating. And I personally would like to totally extricate from the thing. I don't want anything from them, but I don't owe them a damn thing either. So Rob goes into other things too. Gosh, he talks about a claim of right that you can file, like a notice. You can go to a notary public, write up a notice, kind of like just a notice of understanding and intent. And I want to ask him this question. And then you file also a claim of right. Where basically, you know, we're just human beings walking on this earth under God. You know, we all have a right to feed ourselves. We all have a right to clothe ourselves and shelter ourselves. And anybody standing in the way of that is in my opinion, criminally liable. Okay, so he really flips the tables on these guys because he's really done a lot of legal research. So there's that distinction between legal and lawful. Lawful are the natural laws. Legal is this statute nightmare mess that the lawyers have created. The lawyers are the ones that actually write the laws. I did not know that. And he brings up a point. They create their own language. So when we say person, we're thinking you and me, yeah? But for them, person means that fictitious entity. So you have to be super careful. And if you step into their courtroom, that's why I say I wouldn't even want to step into the courtroom. And that's why I think that you can get away with it if you just walk in and say, I don't consent to this. I'm only here out of just being honorable and polite to you. Mary Croft just sends an RSVP as though it was a party. You know, I'm not even going to show up at the door to say that I'm not coming. Here's a letter just out of politeness. But I don't owe you a damn thing. You all have created your own weird system, and I don't understand your language, legalese. None of us do, and I'm not really interested in studying it. I haven't harmed anybody, and the only way anybody can bring anything against you is if there's an affidavit of bodily harm or something from the person that was harmed. You can only be held liable if an actual sentient soul has been harmed, not a fictitious entity, you know. So like when they say the state of Massachusetts against this person, well, the state of Massachusetts is not a sentient soul. So if you know your way out of this, you won't get tricked and played into this. You see, I mean, I'm just like rolling off my tongue, just things that are coming to my mind as I'm talking. There's so much to look into in this. So shall I go into Rob's very cunning plan? Okay, so we all know of this police state that is, just encroaching. And Johnny Liberty said it. He said, look, in 1994, the European central banks stopped loaning money to the United States. They said no more because they know it's so bankrupt. It's gone bankrupt 7 times in the last century. and they're constantly reorganizing. And so the creditors are the world banks, and that's why they get control over, they get to make the decisions over what happens with the country, because they're the creditors, right? That's what happens in a bankruptcy, in a reorganization. The creditors now get to run the country, or the whatever the company that went bankrupt, right? So the United States corporation has gone bankrupt. Excuse me. The creditors, the World Bank, they're going to control us. So they will say, look, we'll loan you some more money, or we'll print up some more dollars, some more lubrication, so you fools will keep running around, and we'll just keep feeding you these little pieces of paper that you all could have done yourselves, okay? So we all have the freedom to create our own little economies, which gets into the plan. But anyway, and so they'll say, we'll back building prisons, building concentration camps, building war machines. These are the things that they back. They don't back school lunches and those kind of things, right? We all know that. So it's very destructive in nature, and we've all just been, spinning our wheels. And maybe we say to ourselves, oh, but I'm not building the war machine. Okay, I make the screws that then go into the war machine, yeah? So we all justify it to ourselves, and that's fine. But now that the information is here, we can no longer say that that's fine. I mean, there's very few people that are actually producing anything in America. We do a lot of paper pushing, a lot of nonsense work or destructive work. There's not much. The only thing I can point to are like organic farmers or natural home builders or something like that. I mean, there's very little that does not involve destruction or just sheer waste and lunacy. So I don't even know where I was going with that, but so yeah, okay. So Johnny Liberty was saying that the reason they've been for the last decade or so just totally artificially holding up the American dollar just long enough so that they can get the police state totally in place. Now, he said this in 1995, okay? I mean, if we're not seeing this on our doorstep, my goodness. Oh, the whole vaccination thing. I mean, that's why you need to regain your sovereignty, right? This whole thing we're talking about, this whole vaccination. You just say to them, I'm sorry, I don't follow your statutes and your acts. I'm a free man on the land. You have no authority over me. Only God has authority over me. I would say to them, until you can bring me a piece of paper signed by God that I need to take your concoction into my body, your will to inject that into my body overrides my own personal will, my own sovereign will to remain pure of that, go bother somebody else. There's no way another human being has a claim of right over another human being. It just doesn't exist.